Okay, so as I said, in human beings, there are 1,300 enzymes, and each of these enzymes is responsible for catalyzing a specific types of reaction. So therefore, based on the number of enzymes, this indicates that we have 1,300 enzymes. Sorry, 1,300 reactions. And these reactions, remember when we said reaction from basic chemistry, is when you have a reactant and then it's converted to product. And before you have the reaction to take place, the importance of the enzymes, look at it, this is what you call activation energy. This is called activation energy. So therefore, for the reaction to take place, the reactant must overcome this activation energy. So the importance of enzymes in catalyzing the reaction, remember from the basic knowledge that when we say enzymes catalyze reaction, an enzymes catalyze reaction is like when we said when we define enzyme, that they are molecules that speed the rate of biological reaction. This the rate of biological reaction. Is who is that? Unmute yourself and Juma. Therefore, now the reactant will now convert themselves to products. So generally, the importance of the enzymes is to speed the rate of the reaction. If the reaction is taking place, let's say in 10 days, so if you use an enzyme, it can take just a second or minute for the reaction to reach completion. So how these enzymes act on this, or how these enzymes speed the rate of the reaction, is by lowering the activation energy. This is the activation energy. So before the reaction takes place, the reactant must overcome this activation energy. So, but when you use enzymes, enzymes will now lower this activation energy. Therefore, the rate of the reaction will increase. So this is how enzymes generally act on a reaction. And these reactions, there are millions of complex reactions that are taking place each minute in our body. Remember, in all the 9 systems that we have digestive system, we have endocrine system, we have nervous system, we have uh, many of them. We have skeletal system, circulatory system. So all system. Please, who is that? Unmute yourself. So therefore, now these complex reactions are ranging, because at the same time, you can have some reactions that are taking place in endocrine system, and also at the same time, you may have some reactions that are taking place in fighting infections. And so also at the same time, you are also having that digestion is also taking place. So it means that in 1 minute, you can have a millions of reactions that are taking place in your body. Some reaction in the eyes, some reaction in the endocrine system, some reaction in the digestive system. Some of the reactions are in hemostasis. So each and every activities that are taking place in our body, whether it is physiological functions, whether it is pharmacological activities, is due to reactions that are taking place in the body. So that is why in 1 minute, you can have, or we may have, a millions of reactions that are taking place in the body. Like in the case of fuel utilization, in fuel utilization, from our basic biology, remember we have glycolysis, we have TCA cycle, we have even oxidative phosphorylation. So all this is like a pathways that involve fuel utilization. And some of these pathways, there are hundreds of reactions that are taking place in them. So life is all about reactions. Life is all about complex reactions. Like now, for example, Let's look at how reactions are taking place in terms of homeostasis. When we said homeostasis, it means the maintenance of internal environment. The body should actually be kept within a steady state. So now, for example, let me just give ourselves this example. Once there is a change in our body, once there is a change in our body, then we have an imbalance. And that imbalance as a stimulus will be detected by the receptor. The receptor will detect it, and then the control center will now process it and then send it to the effector. And the effector will now respond to the change, and then the homeostasis condition will now be maintained. Like, for example, let's look at the body temperature. Remember that the body temperature is 37 degrees centigrade. Fever is not a disease, rather a sign of a disease. It's not all the time that when we develop fever that we will think of taking drugs, because sometimes when we have fever, it's just like the body is trying to protect us against foreign bodies, that is foreign invaders. So what happened? We have what you call hypothalamus. In the hypothalamus, we have what you call thermostat. And this thermostat is the one that control the body temperature. It is the one that sets the body temperature within this 37 degrees centigrade. And remember, we have some of these microorganisms, we call them mesophile. That is, they survive based on our body temperature. So assuming now you have Salmonella type E and you are not infected, or you have a Salmonella, you take water containing Salmonella type E, then your body will first respond to them by increasing the body temperature. So it means that when these microorganisms is now injected into your body, then it's now considered as an imbalance, or it's now considered as a change. So once that it happens, then the receptor will now detect that changes. And once it's now detected, like the thermostat, then it will now send to the control center, which is the brain. Okay, yeah, it will now send to the brain. And the brain will now tell the thermostat that there is a problem. So now, for example, what I'm saying now, when you have an infection, a receptor will now detect it. And once the receptor is now detected, then it will now tell the brain that there is a problem, which is the control center. The control center is the brain. And then the brain will now send this message to the hypothalamus directly to the thermostat in the hypothalamus. And then the hypothalamus will now respond to that change by unsetting the temperature to above 40 degrees centigrade. And that temperature is above our normal body temperature. And those organisms, they cannot also survive at that body temperature, at that 40 or that temperature above 40 degrees centigrade. So that means the thermostat that respond to that by increasing the temperature, then it will now start eliminating, because that temperature is not suitable for the survival of this microorganism. Then they will die. Then once they are died, then you eliminate them. It's an infection. Then your balance will now be restored. That is homeostasis. So ladies and gentlemen, all this thing that I'm saying, that biochemistry is just trying to give us an idea of how thousands or millions of reactions that are taking place to maintain the homeostasis. Remember, everything in life process is to maintain homeostasis. We produce hormones in order to maintain homeostasis. We produce energy in our body just to maintain homeostasis. We digest to maintain homeostasis. We fight infections to restore homeostasis. So life is all about reactions. If that is why a student from nursing, medicine, pharmacy, biology, zoology, and anatomy are doing biochemistry, because we have a number of reactions that are taking place in these living organisms. And these reactions are usually done by macromolecules. And these macromolecules are proteins. And most of these proteins are enzymes. And these enzymes are the ones that are responsible for converting carbohydrates into another product, or the lipids, or the nucleic acid itself. So that is the importance of this slide, to give a link between biochemistry and other life processes. Okay, so that is this. If there is any question, then...
Sir, are we to unmute ourselves or mute ourselves?
No, I said that we should rejoin.
Mute yourselves. Let's